Hello everyone, and welcome back again to our video series, Is Your Classroom Ready for Twitter? Okay, so now again, Twitter's been around for obviously a very long time, and there's some really great things happening in classrooms all over the country where teachers are using Twitter in really sort of unique, interactive ways. And again, as I mentioned before, one of the goals of this video series is going to sort of highlight some of the things that can be done. And I'm going to showcase some of the work that I do with my students using Twitter, but I'm also going to show you some of the other resources that are available out there for you. Okay, so in this first introduction video, I'm really going to sort of highlight some of the best resources on the web in terms of reading some great material on how to use Twitter in your classroom. These are really the resources that I went to when I was first, really sort of planning this out about 4 years ago of how I really wanted to incorporate Twitter into my classroom. I really need to get permission for my administrators to do this. So that's really the first tip I would suggest. Really be up front and tell them, here's my goals, here's what I want to do, here's how I want to engage my students. And my administrators were very supportive. They actually had to open up Twitter for me on the school's network. So I think right now it's still I'm the only teacher in my school's entire district's network that has the ability to actually access Twitter over the school Wi-Fi, which is interesting. It hasn't been taken on a broader sense, but I got that permission, and that was important. And many of my administrators actually followed our class Twitter, which I'll show you in later video series. Okay, so in this first series, we're sort of highlighting some of the really great resources that are out there. The first one here is this teacher's guide to Twitter. And, one of our biggest Twitter tips for teachers, how do you get involved in this? Make it also part of a personal learning network, which I'll get to later. And I think this is important. Create, just don't consume. And this one's really focusing a little bit about, getting involved for professional development, which we'll talk about later. But again, Twitter's a great place to connect with other teachers, to connect with experts in the field, to follow them, to follow the hashtags. And there's some really cool guides here to hashtags. It's a little dated, but there really hasn't been a more updated list coming out. This is kind of a neat infographic about popular Twitter hashtags. We always use the one EdTech a lot. Okay, we're also going to talk about hashtags that you can also follow for your actual subject content area, right? We'll talk about that. So here are 100 different ways to use Twitter, which is great. This is a great general article, searching Twitter, following different hashtags, following different organizations. This is really kind of a wonderful, wonderful resource. So please, there's so many things on here. Here's the one I think is the most important for us in this video is how to connect with your students. Okay, so here's another great link for that. Don't require your students to follow your account, and I don't make that a requirement. Most of my students have a Twitter, but a lot of them, some of them don't. Obviously, I can't make that a requirement. And again, I'm always sort of debating, should I also maybe get involved in Instagram, because a lot of my kids are on Instagram. All right. I've even read articles about using perhaps Snapchat to send out class announcements, which was really engaging, really interesting. I haven't gotten to that point yet. So maybe I'll even broaden my sort of reach and do Snapchat, maybe also do Instagram. Depends on how much time you want to invest in this and also what your goal is in this, right? So committing to posting at regular intervals, that's important for anybody who's posting on Twitter, all right? Know the audience, right? Just don't retweet, create original ideas. These are really important things, okay? And some of the rules that you should follow in terms of Twitter, which is just fun to do, okay? So there's some rules, useful Twitter cheat sheet, all right? This has changed since this has come out. It's no longer 120 characters. Okay, there's more, about 240 now, so you can actually do that. So there you go. Some really great tips for students and teachers to learn from each other. So please take a look at that. This is just a general social media guide in the classroom. Is social media right for you? So this is more of a general article, not just Twitter, but I think it's an important one. Establishing guidelines for social media, safely and effectively. How do you do that? I think that's absolutely essential. All right. It talks about other posting besides Twitter and what you can do with it. So definitely read that. Okay. 6 ways social media can change your classroom, which I think is just really interesting. All right. You get a really great sense of what students are thinking. You have that sort of in the moment materials. You're going to connect with people all over the world, right? Even with your families. And our ed tech students, a lot of my students I teach elementary grades. I do not. A lot of them even still use Twitter for the elementary grades, but more for connecting with parents. Posting classroom achievements, posting classroom work. And it's been a great way for some of our students to even use it on the elementary level, all right? So there's some things to get started. All right, start with one site. I think that's an important thing. I just mentioned that. All right, so you got some great things there. From a different source, let me just get out of here. Some advertisements. 15 ways to use Twitter in education for students and teachers alike. This is great. Tweet out homework assignments. I do a little bit of that. I use another service called Remind for that, just because all of my students are on Remind and not all of my students are on Twitter. All right, but I do usually get educational resources, which is wonderful. Have students collaborate. I'm going to talk about this later on. Some of my students have actually formed their own group Twitter, which is for the group that they are involved in my course, which is really kind of neat. I do a lot of our field trips. I post a lot about that. I subscribe to relevant hashtags. So there's some really great ideas here. Research tool for students, sharing topics, just so many fun things. Okay, and then let me get out of here again. Sorry. And then just a Twitter guide for teacher. Just interesting, another little article. How can we effectively use Twitter? What's all the different Twitter terminology? So if you're new to Twitter, this is a great resource. If you don't even have a Twitter yet, this is what this means. What does it mean to retweet? What's your username? What's a hashtag? Why do I even want a hashtag? Things like that. How to create an account. Writing lesson plan using Twitter, creative writing using Twitter, right? Awesome ways to do different things with your students. Okay, nice little video there as well. So these are just some great resources. I really hope you'll take advantage and read these. As we go forward, we're going to kind of dive into some of my own examples of how you can definitely engage your students more proactively with Twitter. Okay, thank you so much and have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.